Live in the human paradise. Breathe the pure air of heaven. Longevity, vitality, and a lifetime of bliss.
住在人间小天堂，呼吸天堂纯气，延寿长生，幸福一生。
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something pretty radical. We're doing a deep dive into this concept around air quality, aging, and, well, a potential revolution in how we think about the air inside our homes.
That's right. The core idea from the research we've looked at is, frankly, startling. It suggests that, essentially, no human in modern times has ever really lived in truly pure, genuinely non-toxic air within their own residence.
Never. That's a huge statement. So we've always seen pollution as an outside problem, right? Like smog, factories.
Exactly. But this perspective flips that. It says, look, air isn't just around us. It's the primary gateway into the body. It's fuel. And the quality of that fuel, the air we breathe every second, might be a deciding factor in how long we live and, crucially, how fast our bodies actually age internally.
Okay, wow. So if the air itself is the invisible hand pushing aging forward, what's the fix? The materials we reviewed introduce something called the human paradise, Renjian Xiaotian Tang, which relies on a specific technology.
Yes, the Air 6-free maze purifier.
And they're very clear, this isn't just another air filter you buy at the store. They call it let me get this right, a human slow-aging repair capsule. Ren Timen Lao de Shu Fukang.
It's ambitious language, definitely.
It implies a total shift, almost a physical awakening, as they put it, a scientific leap.
It does. But to really understand what that repair capsule is trying to achieve, we first need to grasp the problem it's designed to solve. Which brings us straight to this core issue, the toxin saturation problem.
Right. So what's the fundamental link between toxins and aging, according to this research?
It boils down to something quite stark. Toxin saturation equals irreversible aging. That's the equation they propose. Even with all our modern advancements, our bodies are still fundamentally acting as filters. We are, you could say, living filters for the world we've built.
Constantly processing contaminants.
Constantly. And if that filtration burden gets too high, exceeds our natural capacity, the body simply can't keep up with its other vital jobs like repair and regeneration. It gets overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes sense. So how are these toxins getting in? The research points to 4 main pathways, right? I think most people focus on food.
They do. But interestingly, this research highlights respiration, the air we breathe, as the single biggest source, the most significant entry point.
Why air? What makes breathing so much more dangerous than, say, eating something contaminated?
It's the directness of the route. When you breathe something in, especially very fine particles, it doesn't necessarily go through the digestive system's filters first. We're talking industrial fumes, car exhaust, volatile organic compounds or VOCs from cleaning products, paints, furniture, even things like perfumes and microplastics floating around. But the real kicker, according to this, are the ultrafine particles. Things like PM 0.1. They're so incredibly small.
Smaller than PM 2.5, which we hear about a lot.
Much smaller. PM 2.5 mostly impacts the lungs, but PM 0.1, the research suggests, can bypass lung defenses almost completely. It slips through the alveoli directly into your bloodstream, and once it's in the blood, it goes everywhere. Systemic toxicity.
Okay, that distinction is critical. Size determines if it stays local, in the lungs, or goes system-wide via the blood. So, air is gate number 1, the big one. What are the other 3 pathways adding to this toxic load?
Well, number 2 is the one we often think of, eating and drinking. This covers your pesticides on produce, fertilizers, heavy metals like lead, cadmium, mercury finding their way into the food chain or water. Also things like chlorine or fluoride in tap water, even microbial toxins. These tend to put immediate stress on the liver, the kidneys, the digestive tract.
Makes sense. And number 3?
Dermal absorption. Through the skin. It's kind of unsettling, but yeah. Chemicals in cosmetics, lotions, soaps, cleaning agents we handle, hair dyes, sunscreen, even tiny molecules leaching off plastic containers or maybe metal accessories, they get absorbed.
Wow. So creams, cleaners, it all adds up.
It contributes to the total body burden, yes. And finally, the 4th category is just sort of unique to our modern lives. Drugs and the environment itself. This includes what they call secondary toxins from the long-term breakdown of medications in the body. But maybe more pervasively, it's the VOCs constantly being released or offcast by things inside our homes. New furniture, carpets, paint, glues and particle board, building materials. It's a low-level, constant exposure.
A 247 background hum of chemicals. Okay, so we've got these 4 gates. air, food, water, skin, and this modern chemical environment. Toxins are coming in. How does the body fail? Walk us through that accumulation process they describe.
It's described as a simplified three-step process leading to that saturation point. Step 1 is entry and circulation. Toxins get into the bloodstream no matter how they entered lungs, gut, skin.
Okay, into the blood.
Step 2 is distribution. The blood carries these toxins throughout the entire body. They circulate everywhere, but tend to concentrate initially in the main filtering organs like the liver and kidneys as the body tries to process them.
Right, the body tries to fight back.
It tries. But the crucial breakdown happens at step 3, deposition and fixation, or chenji guding, as the source material puts it. This is where the contaminants aren't just passing through anymore. They chemically bind to cells, or they get physically lodged in the tissues in the tiny spaces within organs. They become stuck.
Stuck permanently.
Effectively, yes. They accumulate. The concentration inside the tissues keeps rising over time until you reach this state of saturation. The natural repair systems are just overwhelmed. And that, the research argues, is what directly leads to organ damage, chronic inflammation, accelerated aging, and eventually organ failure.
Okay, that picture is pretty grim. Toxins getting stuck inside us leading to breakdown. So this brings us back to the technology. How does this 6-free maize purifier claim to actually break that cycle? What makes it different from, say, a really good HEPA filter or a carbon filter?
That's the key question. And the sources are quite emphatic. The core innovation isn't just filtering. It's about locking the toxicity away permanently, irreversibly. It's more of a chemical and electrostatic capture and neutralization process, not just a physical sieve.
Okay.
They even cite a U.S. patent number for it, US 8268058B2. It relies on what they lay out as a 5-step purification process.
5 steps. All right, let's unpack that. Step 1 involves an ionization zone and pre-filters. That sounds somewhat familiar, like the first stage in many purifiers.
It is, partially. Step 1 handles the core stuff, visible dust, pollen, larger VOC molecules, maybe bigger microplastics. It's like the initial sweep up.
Okay, clears the big debris.
Correct. But step 2, the secondary ionization stage, is where it starts to differ significantly. This stage is designed to neutralize pathogens like bacteria or viruses, and also start breaking down chemical toxins. But critically, its main job here is to impart a strong negative electrical charge onto all the remaining particles and aerosols, regardless of how incredibly tiny they are, even the nano-sized stuff.
So it's like tagging every remaining speck of pollutant, even the ultrafine ones, with a negative charge, preparing them for something.
Precisely. It's essentially magnetizing the pollution, making it ready for capture. Which brings us to step 3, the electrostatic collection maze box. They call this the sacrificial black box, which sounds dramatic, but it highlights its function.
Okay, sacrificial black box. How is that different from just a high-efficiency filter element that you replace? Why sacrificial?
The difference is permanence and the mechanism. A typical filter traps particles physically in fibers. When it's full, it's basically a concentrated block of toxic material that needs disposal and potentially could release things. Here, the maze box contains plates with a strong positive charge. Those negatively charged toxins we just mentioned are pulled by the electrostatic force onto these positive plates. But it's not just trapping. The process involves solidifying and, they claim, irreversibly fixing or plating this toxic matter onto the collection surfaces. It's sacrificial because these collection plates are designed to permanently hold on to that neutralized, solidified toxic load. It's taken out of circulation forever, not just temporarily held.
Oh, I see. So it's not just caught. It's neutralized and chemically bound into the machine's collection system. That's a fundamental difference from just trapping dust in a filter medium.
That's the claim, yes. A permanent removal from the airstream.
Yep.
Then step 4 adds another layer. They call it the maze effect. This isn't electrostatic. It's mechanical or physical.
Yeah.
The airflow is deliberately forced through a series of very sharp, repeated turns inside the machine.
Like a labyrinth for air.
Exactly. The idea is that even the tiniest nanotoxins, which might theoretically navigate the complex airflow around the electrostatic fields, are forced by inertia to collide with the internal surfaces during these sharp turns. They essentially get scrubbed out of the air by physical impact and absorption onto the maze walls.
Clever. Okay, we understand the mechanics now, this 5-step process aiming for 6-free air. Let's shift to who this is for. The research identifies, I think, 10 specific groups of users, but let's focus on the most striking claims. When they talk about this as a repair capsule, who do they say needs this most urgently, and what specific results are they actually promising?
Well, probably the most attention-grabbing claim relates to mid to older adults, let's say people aged 45 and up. These are individuals who, realistically have been accumulating environmental toxins for decades, 20, 30, 40 years.
Right. Decades of exposure.
So the claim is that providing about 10 hours of truly non-toxic air, specifically during sleep each night, allows the body's repair mechanisms to work so effectively that it could potentially postpone significant aspects of aging by 5 to 10 years. They specifically mention delaying the onset of things like dementia, stroke, and general organ aging.
Postponing aging by a decade. Delaying dementia. That's enormous. Is this based on clinical trials mentioned in the sources, or is it more of a theoretical projection? Like, if you remove the burden, the body should recover better.
It seems to be primarily presented as a projection based on that physiological principle,
Yeah.
reducing the toxic burden. The logic is, if your body, especially key organs like the liver, kidneys, and even the brain's lymphatic system during sleep, if it spends 10 hours every night not having to fight off a fresh wave of incoming toxins from the air, then all that energy, all those resources can be redirected to actual cellular repair and maintenance.
So less burden means less chronic inflammation, less cellular stress, which are known drivers of aging.
Precisely. It's positioned as maximizing the body's innate repair capacity by removing a major obstacle. And this same logic applies to their claims about people with chronic diseases, like diabetes or hypertension. Well, individuals with these conditions often already have compromised detoxification pathways or higher levels of systemic inflammation. Their bodies are already working overtime. So reducing their daily toxin intake, especially the constant influx from air, is presented as perhaps the only practical, non-medical way to provide significant relief to their systems. The hope is this could help stabilize their condition, maybe slow its progression, possibly even reduce reliance on medication over time.
It reframes it less as a cure and more as creating the optimal internal environment for the body to manage the condition better, kind of like foundational support.
Exactly. It's auxiliary support by reducing stress.
What about people who aren't sick but need their brains working at peak capacity? Creatives, students, executives, cognitive workers.
Ah, yes, that's another really interesting angle.
Yeah.
The idea here links directly back to sleep quality and brain detoxification. If you achieve truly non-toxic sleep, you supposedly enter deep, restorative sleep phases faster and stay there longer. The sources claim this leads to a direct revitalization of the central nervous system. Tangible benefits like enhanced mental clarity upon waking, sharper memory, better focus and attention span throughout the day, and maybe even, as they suggest, a clearer channel for creativity or inspiration.
So the daily toxic load we're all breathing might actually be creating a kind of low-level brain fog that we don't even notice.
It's the implication. Remove the fog, and cognitive function naturally improves.
Okay, connecting sleep quality directly to mental performance. Makes sense. Now, let's go to the other end of the age spectrum, babies, young children, and families planning for pregnancy.
This is arguably one of the most compelling use cases presented, because the potential impact is lifelong. The research asserts that significant toxin exposure during these critical developmental windows in utero, infancy, childhood can cause potentially irreversible damage to the developing brain and immune system.
Lifelong damage.
Yes. So providing a consistently non-toxic environment during these periods is framed as a proactive measure to prevent or reduce the risk of issues like childhood asthma, severe allergies, and potentially even contributing factors to developmental conditions like autism or learning disabilities.
And for pregnant women, they use the term fetal protective shield. What specific dangers are they trying to shield the fetus from?
They explicitly call out VOC's volatile organic compounds like formaldehyde, which are common in new construction or furniture, and airborne heavy metals. These specific toxins are cited in the materials as known or suspected contributors to fetal development problems and miscarriage risk. So the 6-Free standard, by removing these gases and metals, acts as that direct protective barrier during the most vulnerable 9 months.
Right, protecting during that critical window. Okay, one more group. What about just regular folks, people commuting in cities, working in offices, eating out a lot, the average urban dweller?
Yes, absolutely. For this group, the concept is that the home unit, used primarily during sleep, functions as a nightly recovery capsule. Think about it. All day, you're potentially breathing in exhaust fumes, office air, maybe fumes from cooking oils in restaurants, just the general soup of urban air pollution.
Accumulating that daily dose.
Exactly. So the idea is that spending your sleeping hours in this human paradise allows your body to clear daily toxins daily. It helps prevent the compounding effect of chronic, low-level exposure day after day, year after year. That compounding effect is what's suggested to eventually overwhelm the system and contribute to major organ issues later in life. So it's framed as a kind of long-term insurance policy against the unavoidable exposures of modern living.
Like hitting a reset button every night for your internal environment.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've seen the tech and who it's aimed at. Let's just quickly recap the overall holistic benefits they claim come from spending time, especially sleep time, in this human paradise space. It's not just about breathing clean air, is it?
No, the effects are described as cascading. The most immediate and noticeable is typically enhanced sleep repair. People report falling asleep faster, waking up less during the night, and feeling a much deeper sense of rest.
Deeper sleep, right?
That deep, uninterrupted repair state then leads to the brain and nervous system benefits.
Yeah.
We mentioned the clearer thinking, better memory, more stable mood. And physiologically, that nightly break from processing airborne toxins gives the liver and kidneys significant relief, reducing their constant workload.
Less stress on the detox organs.
Precisely. And then there are these reported sort of rejuvenation effects, people mentioning improvements in skin quality, like finer texture or a healthier complexion. The sources attribute this to the body finally being able to operate in a state of true quiet recovery, yin-yang, where resources aren't being constantly diverted to detoxification.
It allows the body's natural restorative processes to just run properly.
Yes, it emphasizes the non-invasive auxiliary nature of this. It's not adding anything. It's removing the interference, removing the stressor of toxic air, and letting the body do its job.
The source material also briefly touches on a spiritual dimension for some users, right? Something about a sacred space.
It does mention that for certain practitioners, creating this pure space can serve almost as a physical contract or a dedicated sanctuary for daily practices or covenants, reinforcing commitment on a physical level.
Yeah.
But the core focus remains the physiological benefits.
Understood. So bringing this all together really presents a fascinating contrast.
How so?
Well, fresh air, like you find in pristine nature, is wonderful, a gift, right? But this research suggests it's not enough anymore for optimal health in our modern world. Pure air, air that's been technologically scrubbed clean of the specific ultrafine particles and chemical gases produced by civilization, that's presented as technology's necessary contribution.
That's a great synthesis. Fresh air is nature's baseline, but pure air, engineered to remove modern contaminants, is positioned as the requirement to overcome the limitations of our bodies, constantly acting as filters for an increasingly toxic environment. It's a paradigm shift.
From just accepting environmental air to actively controlling our personal air quality as a fundamental health strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Moving from passive acceptance to proactive control of the very medium that sustains us moment to moment.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with this final thought to chew on. We've talked about the four main routes of toxicity: air, food and water, skin absorption, and the chemical environment around us. If technology like the 6-free maze system can potentially bring the air component close to toxin zero, which of those other three pathways, food, water, skin, or our chemical surroundings, represents the next biggest hurdle? What's the hardest one to truly purify in modern life, technically or just behaviorally? And what might the technology to achieve toxin zero in that area even look like?
The Air 6-free maze purifier is the world's only device that truly filters toxic airborne particulates and aerosols. Its core design returns the duty of air cleaning to machines, so people no longer act as living filters. Air 6-free means dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free. 5 purification steps. Step 1: Ionization zone. Dual electrostatic pre-filters. Captures dust, pollen, plastic, microparticles, VOCs, and toxic gases. Step 2: Secondary ionization stage. Neutralizes pathogens and toxins. Charges all remaining particles and aerosols negative. Prepares them for final capture. Step 3: Electrostatic collection maze box. The sacrificial black box permanently locks away ultrafine pollutants. Aerosol droplets lose water in airflow. Residual toxins deposit onto positive plates. Solidly plated, irreversibly fixed. Step 4: Maze effect. Forces airflow through repeated sharp turns. Nanotoxins collide with surfaces and are completely absorbed. Step 5: Output pure, toxin-free, pure air. System delivers the purest air on Earth. Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Conclusion. This is more than a filter. It is the one true key to unlocking humanity's lifespan shackles.